Meta Quest Plus. What is it? And should you get it on your headset? Meta Quest Plus is the first VR game subscription that will give you access to 2 handpicked games every single month. And this service will be available for headsets like the Quest 2, Quest Pro, as well as the upcoming Quest 3. Now, similar to PlayStation Plus, Meta is offering up 2 specific redeemable titles at every first of each month, which you can then download and keep for as long as you are a paid member. But that brings directly the first problem, because what happens if you want to cancel your service? Now, Meta says that members can stop their subscription at any time they wish to, but it does mean that you will lose access to each of the games you have redeemed so far. However, if you eventually choose to rejoin the program, it will also gain you access to those previously earned games. And another important question is, can I choose my own games every month? Sadly, the answer to this is no, since Meta will handpick 2 games every month for you without you having any influence on this at all. That means you could even get a game that you previously already owned. And since Meta won't compensate for this, that directly would answer the question, for who is this subscription for? If you are a VR veteran or just a regular gamer, you will have a high chance that you will own one of the most popular VR titles. And with it, you do have to risk that this subscription service might not be worth it for you. But on the other hand, if you are brand new to VR or now are finally owning your first Quest 2 or Quest 3 headset, then this would be a great deal, since you will get to experience one of the best VR titles for just a fraction of the cost. And to answer that, how much do they expect you to pay for this new VR gaming service? With Meta starting their monthly rate at $8. But it is also possible to get the yearly plan with a 37% reduction at a total of $60. And with the added in bonus is that the first month will be $1 only, including the classic games like Pistol Whip and Pixel Ripped 1995. Another important thing to note is what happens to your games after the first month has passed. If you will be still using their subscription service, you will also have access to the previously owned games. That means there won't be a time limit to play these games for just a single month, and you will still have access to them whenever you want, as long as your subscription is going. But overall, this is a very interesting route that Meta is trying to take, most probably focusing on the new members to get in as much VR users before their launch of the Quest 3 headset. But Meta didn't stop there, since they showed off their AI research that is capable of full body tracking with just using your Quest 2 headset. Now currently, most VR systems only track the position of your head and hands, with other things like your elbows and legs only being capable of a rough estimation using a difficult algorithm called inverse kinematics. But this is only rarely accurate, and while there are other options like setting up your smartphone to create full body tracking as well, it does require you to move your phone into a corner and will only work properly if you are facing towards it. Now, other options are things like the 5 trackers that can do this much more accurately, but also come in at a ridiculous price cost. So that's why this AR research can be an absolute breakthrough, giving us the capability of full body gestures without needing any expensive controllers or phones to set up inside our rooms, with their new upgrade showing the capability to also interact with furniture or other objects inside the environment. And this was not possible before. But although the video results are very impressive, don't expect this to run anytime soon on your Quest 2, because to be capable of using this machine learning, their Quest 2 headsets are running very powerful PCs and are giving up on those high frame rates. Secondly, we don't have a depth sensor inside the Quest 2, so the furniture and objects that were used were manually positioned inside the virtual environment, although the Quest 3 might actually be capable of doing this as well. But still, assuming that this system could eventually be optimized, seeing full body tracking directly built into your headset is an absolute dream come true that I can't wait to see happen. But we had some other big VR news, because we got the first reports of some Apple Vision Pro testers who were not so happy at all. Since Vision Pro was publicly revealed by Apple, they've been sending out some headsets to a number of staff and trusted outsiders to be able to give feedback on the headset. But this brought a lot more negativity than Apple expected, with many reports of the testers finding the Vision Pro way too heavy. Now, the headset itself is tethered with a battery pack that lasts up to 2 hours, but it can also be used indefinitely in a seated position if you would connect the battery to a compatible USB source. And that is where the problem arises, with the users reporting that the weight is potentially straining if you would try to use it for multiple hours. Now, this front heavy feeling is also a problem with many other headsets, because if you own a Quest 2, you know that sometimes it feels like you have a brick attached to your face. And most of the time, getting an upgraded head strap can solve most of these these problems. But since it's Apple, they saw some big business here because they are considering to sell better straps as an extra accessory rather than including them directly into the box. And this is kind of ridiculous, knowing that the headset's price tag is at $3,500. I think at that point, you could at least expect for a good head strap to be included as well. But besides Apple, now Google just completely destroyed its future of creating augmented reality glasses. This news probably didn't come as much of a shock because Google has been struggling very hard in the VR and AR department. Firstly, when they launched their VR Daydream headsets that basically became an entire flop for the virtual reality community. And secondly, with their Google Glass that was trying to achieve something that was not possible yet at the time. And with these big downfalls, Google still chose to keep going and working on augmented reality glasses. But it seems that the tides have turned, with Google now fully giving up on its future projects. Now we saw an early version during their big event where they showed off direct translation for people who are wearing the headset. And the concept itself was very intriguing because this would allow users to directly read conversations that are happening in real time, basically creating subtitles for live. And this could have been especially useful for those who have problems with hearing capabilities or when you're speaking to someone who's talking into a different language. But it was also unclear if these were using actual augmented reality or instead were just smart glasses similar to the Ray-Ban stories of Meta. But we also had some big VR news from Sony because they are now finally releasing their full body trackers outside of Japan as well. These colorful trackers from Sony are named the Moccupy and are compatible with VR chat on your Quest headsets. But the big news is that until now it was not available yet inside the US. But probably the biggest shock, although it is made by Sony, it is important to keep in mind that it is not compatible with the PlayStation VR 2. And although the company didn't rule out that it might be possible in the future, currently it is only working on the Quest headsets. Now these sensors can communicate through Bluetooth using an iPhone 12 or above or some new Android-based phones. And when used correctly, gives the full body tracking like we talked about before that could have an insane impact for games like VR chat. But that doesn't mean it comes in cheap, starting at the price tag of $450. So in the end, it might be worth waiting for that Quest update that gives full body tracking without needing any external sensors at all. But besides that, also make sure to click on the video you see on screen right now so that you don't miss out on one of the biggest VR news we ever had.